Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pot Smokers Bible Dreams of Zion, Episode 8. I'm doing these videos because I love to tell stories, and usually I tell the stories to myself, but I thought that you guys might like to hear my stories because they show the true light of what Zion is. You see, I put together the prophecy of Israel from the scattered bits and pieces of testimony of the Old Testament prophets, and it gave me a vision of a place called Zion, which is a future nation here on earth. And Zion becomes a nation because there is a great northern kingdom that suffers a sore destruction during a time of pandemic when there is rioting due to police brutality and the mismanagement of government by a base and dishonorable man. 2020 was exactly that year. And the projection from that going forward is that a woman who is the author of a book of prophecy steps forward at this time of sore destruction. And she speaks on behalf of the great aliens, who are the gods of Israel and of the ancient world. And she has been trained to teach the world how to be more like the gray and to help us to enter a larger society in the heavens. And so Zion convinces the poorest people of the nation that's destroying itself to gather together to go camping, following in the footsteps of Moses, to create a new society based on the ancient society and their temple complex, which was the basis of their government. And so she convinces all the drug users and the poor people and those who are suffering at the hands of the nation to go camping, following in the footsteps of Moses. And at their camp, they create this new society, and these stories are based on that vision. And so today's story is called Emma Goes to School. But the school is Skool, not the regular SCH, because this is not the same kind of a school that she has known before. Now, Emma is a very beautiful little 7-year-old girl from San Francisco, and she used to belong to a upper middle class neighborhood. So she had a lot of advantages when she was up until this point, but COVID destroyed the economy, destroyed their uh, work because mom had to quit working and dad got sick, so all the money went away. They were looking at eviction because they could not deal with the back rent, just like most of America. And her mom and dad both got high. So when Zion appeared and said, "Let's go camping," mom and dad decided, okay, let's go camping. They had an RV because, they were upper middle class and they used to take vacations all the time and go camping. So they packed everything up into the RV and they spent the last of their money buying a little trailer so they could take all their stuff from home because they were being evicted and they knew it. They were going to take a chance in Zion because they wanted to be, they wanted a revolution. They just didn't want Trump's revolution. So they decided to go camping. So on 420, they were one of the first people at the gates of Zion, which was nothing more than meeting in York, Nebraska. And so they all met in York, Nebraska, and when enough of them, over 1,000, had showed up, they organized themselves and took off out west into the panhandle of the state of Nebraska. And they had decided on a location to start the camp. So these guys were one of the first ones at the camp. So they set up their RV, and um, Emma th- thought this was a great adventure. She didn't even really understand that mom and dad were broke because they were just now getting to the end of their savings. So she was becoming one of the poor but didn't know it. Instead, they came to Zion. And it only took about a couple of weeks for things to get organized enough that Emma was told that she had to take a test to determine her placement in school as soon as quarantine was over. Because they had it set up so that by the time quarantine was over, they could start their guild system and the schooling that comes with it, which is all part of the um, underlying political structure of Zion. So Emma wears her mask and goes to the school tent. And the first thing that she notices when she gets there is the spelling of the word school because it's not the same. It's Skool instead of School. And she kind of laughs at that and she goes in and she's like, "Hi, my name is Emma." So, "Hey, Emma, why don't you sit over there at the computer screen and you can take your test?" And she says, "What's this thing with the school? Why are you spelling it wrong?" And the teacher goes, "We spell it differently because we want you kids to know from the very first time you step into the school tent that school is not the same as it used to be. So I want you to sit down and I want you to take this test that we've prepared for you. And that will determine what classes you're going to take and who your classmates are going to be." She says, "What do you mean? Who are my classmates going to be?" And the teacher says, "Well, in Zion, we don't believe that age is an indication of intellect or how smart you are. So test is going to tell us just how smart you really are. And if you're smarter than your second grade, then you're going to go into classes that are older than second grade. And if you're not quite sure about the stuff you've been learning, then we're going to teach you things so that you understand it right. And then you will go from there. So this test is going to tell us exactly where you need to begin your schooling." "Oh, okay, I'll take the test." So Emma starts taking the test. And she gets to a point, it's like at first this everything is easy. She just like, that's so silly. And she goes on and she gets to the point where she's like, "Oh, that's what we were studying in school." And she takes that test and she says that was easy too. And then she goes on and she's like, "Well, that's blah, blah, blah." And it's like, "I don't understand that." And then others, "I can do that one." And she does that. And then she goes on, "I can do that." And she keeps answering questions that are beyond what they had taught her in second grade. And the farther that she gets with her answers, the more excited she gets because she's like, "I'm not second grade. I'm not second grade." And she giggles, and the teacher kind of looks over and she's like, "I wonder what she's doing over there." And she comes and she looks. And Emma is already at a seventh grade level of what we would call school, but only in certain categories. Now, there are certain questions like math and science that she kind of left behind, but she was really good at other things like abstract thoughts, poetry, putting stories together, English. She was a natural born writer, and this came out in her test. So the teacher looks just at what she's doing and she goes, "Oh, I see. Well, you just go on and you take that test, and when you can no longer answer any questions at all, then you let me know." And by this time, Emma is so excited because she's got these three categories that she's still answering questions, and it's like way past second grade. So it takes her about a half hour to get to the point where she can't answer any more questions. But it doesn't matter because by the time she gets there, she's like, oh, this is so cool because I answered questions that were older than me. And so she says, teacher. And the teacher is like, okay, you're done. Okay, you have a good time, honey. You go back to camp. So she goes about her business, and time goes by. They all quarantine in their tents until every person in the camp who has decided to join them, and we have like by the 10th of May to get there. So at the 10th of May, on the 10th of May, we let's say the 7th of May, first week of May. That sounds good. The 7th of May, we close down the gates and we quarantine. So we quarantine for 6 weeks, which brings us to the middle of June. So during the middle of June, the um, Healers Guild and the doctors go through the camp one last time and find that there is absolutely no cases of COVID, not a single positive COVID case. And that is a day of great celebration. Let's say it's the solstice, June 21st. So on June 21st, quarantine ends. No COVID at all. Don't have to wear masks. We can intermingle between camps. We can do whatever we want because we are COVID free. And at that point, we've had all that time to set up our organization, our political structure, our temple complex. Each guild has been established, and the school system has been given from each guild the proper fundamental principles needed by the guild for apprenticeship. So the school, Skool, teaches not only the basics that we learn in our school system here, but the basics of it, whichever guild the child is either working towards by choice or working towards by talent. Because, and so Emma, when she goes to school, she has her basic, she has a math class, she has a history class, a civics class. We don't do history. Okay, so she has a math class, she has a science class, she has her basic English class, and social studies. She has her gym class, she has her music class, and her acting class. These are all basics that we get when we first go to school, so that if we have hidden talents, they can come out. So she's given this list of things that she can go into based on her choice. Now, she's a writer, which gears her towards the arts. So some writers can act and sing and dance. So they have a variety of talents based on that. And her classes will be geared towards not only the basic knowledge that we learn, reading, writing, arithmetic, but also classes that help her to um, grow in her talented areas. So she has the choice of all of these talents to choose from, and on a yearly basis they will do that. So that by the time they're through with the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic, they will have finalized their choice of guilds, and they will be apprenticing in that guild. And so Emma becomes a writer. So, may the Grey watch over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm. And may they teach you right from wrong. May you be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light, the unicorn way. Find your joy and pursue it. Make that your guild choice when we get to the camp. If you use drugs and get high, stay happy and high. You have every right and reason to. Believe me, I know. I wrote the books. My name is Zion. I'm the Zion of the Most High God of Israel, by right of passage. I earned it. So I'm going to say Later now? Because I'll never say goodbye.